My name is AJ, Angelo Harris. Welcome to the Freight House Square, one of the stores inside Stylist Fashions. I've lived in Tacoma about 15 years, so it's kind of my backyard, not too far from here. I really enjoy the place. Come from the projects of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and voila, I'm here in Tacoma, Washington.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I live in Tacoma. I'm 44 years old, and I stay at Nativity House Shelter.
What are some of the main causes for being homeless?
I think loss of job, loss of family member mental issues, I think is the number one big thing. And then if you add drugs to that, that just makes that more of an issue. And I think there's a lot of people who don't want to live inside. For instance, like they have the stability site. We call it the compound, but it houses 80 tents. But there's over 5,000 people homeless in Tacoma.
Where do you think the media fits in with the plight of homeless people?
I think the media portrays us as all just some horrible people that do drugs, that do bad things, steal, hurt people, and we're not. They don't ever, I haven't watched the news in years, but they don't ever portray the good side of it. There's actually decent people who are homeless. It's not easy to make it out here.
What do you think should be done about the homeless people?
I think there needs to be more shelters. There's so many abandoned buildings, empty buildings. There's one up there on between 12th and 11th of MLK. Mm-hmm. I think it used to be Rite Aid or something. They could open that up for a nighttime shelter, at least, there's things they can do. I think just having one major shelter isn't the answer. And they say they're building more low-income housing, but the housing stuff that they're building down on Yakima is not low income. Mm-hmm. That's, they're fancy. That's not low income. And nowadays it's just so hard. I think there needs to be more shelters, and the community needs to know that not every homeless person is bad or does drugs or we just gave up, or like I said, the mental issues are a big part of them.
I don't know what else it is that I can do, but I just know that there's a lot more than we think we can do, that we can't, that we can. It makes a big difference. I don't know if that makes sense, but people say, well, I can't help you with this, but you can help me with this, even if it's nothing but words of encouragement, even if it's just nothing but understanding. And when I see the people down here in the food court and they're sitting there and they have nowhere else to go because it's pouring down raining outside, and one of the rules down there is if you're not buying anything, you just can't sit up here and take table space. And there's a couple restaurants down there that I said that if they were hungry, just let me know. Do you have an idea of what it would take for you to, I don't know, for the lack of a better way to say it, becoming unhomeless?
I don't really, and that's why I kind of got stuck. And I graduated high school. I didn't go to college, and the job market is so hard out there right now. I can't work at a warehouse. I know what I can do, and I figured I'd go back to school and maybe go from there to work on my situation.
What do you say to those people who look down at their nose at you?
That's on them, because until they talk to me or get to know my story, then they have no clue. They're judging me, and I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want, if my basic needs could be, a place to live, and I could care, honestly, my story is I could care less if I ever had money, because I've been on that 100,000+ grand a year, and I've been miserable. I'd rather be broke and happy than ever have that kind of money ever again. I just want to be able to work to afford my basic needs.
How do you feel about some of the statements that I just made about me having a store here and not wanting trouble in my store?
You have every right. You have every right to feel that way, and like you hit on something. It's a case by case situation, and it's hard not to judge. It's hard for me not to judge the person sleeping next to me or somebody at the shelter, or because we're human, and we're prideful, but at the end of the day, we're all here, and we all have our struggles. I mean, would you look at me and think that I'm a drug addict? Probably not your typical one, but I am, and people get blown away by that. But I'm not ashamed of it. So, my thing is just to educate people and to, not every homeless person is going to want you to embrace them and help them. But there's the ones that are so thankful for the little things, like I am. I'm thankful I have a shelter. I'm thankful I get to volunteer and help out staff. I'm thankful that I have the friends I do, and that I've made these bonds with these people. And when I go to school and when I get out of there, I'm not forgetting these people because I was once there.
As individuals, we deal with people differently. As somebody that has a heart and being sympathetic to dealing with people like that, realizing again that you're only a paycheck away. They can come in, the IRS come in and take everything you have, and then you one of those people that come in here, as people say, not clean up after yourself, start fights, hungry as all get out and want something to eat, and always looking for a handout. I try to understand each situation and take it as it is, but I don't want to be somebody that, in my situation, looking down on them and trying to be a judge. So I was also looked at, other than, and not because of the color of my skin, but because when I went to a class field trip, my parents couldn't give me money to go and enjoy myself on this class field trip. And some of the other mothers and dads were able to do that for their kids. I remember going over to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., and I would I was so hungry. And my mom gave me a couple sandwiches, but I had ate them for breakfast on the trip over. And I got there and I think I had $3. And everything over there cost $7, $8, $9, $10, $11 on up. And I remember sitting there on the bench there in front of the Smithsonian Institute, and I was so hungry, and I was watching the other kids eat, and I stood up, and at this point, I'm going to eat somebody something, and I slipped, and I slipped, and I went down 16 steps, and my head hit almost every last one of them. Ooh. And when I got down to the bottom, people came and helped me up, and I thought, that I was hurting. I had this big knot on my head, but I was still hungry. And you're looking at a person that used to go stand in the line for the surplus cheese, for the canned meat and whatever. But I had 6 brothers. And if you were late to the dinner table, you didn't get anything to eat. And so to sit in front of you, somebody that's homeless, is to understand what it's going to take to get yourself in a situation where you can have some pride about who you are. Because it takes a lot away from you to be caught in situations like this. And when I'm blessed. And I just wish the same for you.
Thank you.
It makes a difference. Where you get help, how you're helped. And people don't see that anymore. This world has just gone, you know, on the other side of itself. And it's really sad. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in the world, it doesn't matter how big your house is or what you drive. And people use that. They use that against you. And it's very, very uncomfortable. Not to mention that I am a black man in America, the most endangered species of any time.
Yep.
But to see what people go through who are less fortunate is just not fair. It's just not fair.